Hello everybody and welcome to the Zcast for post week 16 of Dragon Ball Z League. No, post playoffs of Dragon Ball Z League in the post season.
You're doing it wrong. How long have you been here? God,
I'm
you're
still
like a
talking.
newbie.
I'm still talking.
Oh, okay.
Post playoffs. Playoffs just happened 2 days ago, I think. Yeah, 2 days ago. And we all gathered round our round table of the Zcast. The Knight of Honor, me, Judas, Rebel.
Hello.
Famous Knight of the Round Table.
Yep.
Obama, Burnerator, and Gandhi, Squee 913.
Yes.
No, I've played Civilization 5. That guy is a dick.
And
Civ 4. He was worse than Civ 4. Fuck you, Squee.
Damn it, Squee.
Nobody
Oh,
wants
it's
you.
Gandhi! I'll make peace. Why is he attacking me?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hey, it's Gandhi. I didn't want to win. Totally.
You know, historically speaking, Gandhi has gone on record as saying that it's not that he was a pacifist. If he thought that he could have won through military action, he would have done it. He just didn't. He was just smart.
Yeah.
Realized that was not a good idea.
So how has your weeks been without me? I understand you can get past all the painful.
Okay, hang on. I need a thesaurus. How many ways can you say blissful?
Well, there's one that says distraught. The other one that says broken inside.
Stupid.
No. Wait. So you're asking when you are here? So lost.
No. We're going to be doing this for an hour. Aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start. My week was amazing. I worked 4 days in a row for about 9 or 10 hours a day. And it hurt.
I think that's the first time you've answered that question seriously.
What?
I'm floored. Thank you, Rebel, for being so cooperative.
I'm
Burnerator.
just so happy to have you back, HJK.
I beat the Rugrats.
Woo! No, I don't think you did.
Yeah.
No, didn't we tell you about the rerun? Because, for
What?
some reason, I don't know why, Squee put the Rugrats all on default.
What?
Don't know why.
And they
Wasn't anything to
did
do with
better.
bias.
Yeah, they performed better.
Squeeze, he fucking with me? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
He's messing with me.
No.
And it's my day off, so that should tell you kind of how things are going.
Squee's so dedicated. He's so dedicated. He works on his day off.
It's the only time we could do the Zcast.
It's got a point.
Pretty much, actually. Yeah. So I guess we may as well get on with the old matches. Matches. There were 4 matches, best of 3s. The first one was for North Kai. It was Boo versus the Gohans.
Yeah.
Gohans were fucking awesome. Except for all
Yeah,
Gohan.
where have
Kinda
they
sucked.
been all season? Especially that kid Gohan. The hell?
I have no idea.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the Gohan should be really, really. I mean, now whether it's, I was gonna say it could have just been a good week, but considering it was 2 out of 3, I have to say whatever the Gohans did to their team, they stepped it up.
Yeah, they didn't do too badly.
Especially
I think-
Saiyaman.
Yeah, I think the Boos on the other end of things. I think the Boos certainly dropped the ball now.
Yes.
There was the odd, pretty strong performance. I mean, Gohan and Boo started both matches off pretty effectively, but the exception of Gohan Boo, there were the odd flashes of brilliance from Oob and Kid Boo, but they weren't consistent enough for that, and
I agree.
Marjin and Majin Buu and Evil Boo just really weren't quite up to par.
When you think back on it, of course, Saiyaman had an amazing performance, and it wasn't like Kid Buu was god awful, but he was not the feared Kid Buu that we used to see.
He wasn't anywhere near as good as he should have been.
Yeah, the hard part to discern, especially with that particular match, was he derping, and he was derping a little bit, or was it Saiyaman was not giving him very many chances to do much?
I think he had enough chances to turn the match around that he should have been able to do it.
I was going to say there were plenty of times where he could have done something and didn't, but a lot less number of times than he's usually granted during a match. I think that Saiyaman really did keep the pressure on him, which was brilliant.
In the face of justice, what can you do?
Get punched in the nuts, apparently. Yeah.
I don't really have much to add to that.
It'd be worth having since we've only got a few games going on this week. It might be worth going over the builds specifically and rattling off what they were.
Yeah, that's what I was about to have a look at. If we know from experience, I think Ultimate Boo was actually Ultimate Boo.
Oh fucking hell!
Ultimate Gohan was on a newish build. At least I don't remember him being on a build like that before, but I could be wrong.
Same AI.
Same AI.
Same AI. Similar build.
Yeah, but Ultimate Gohan was not bad, but lackluster. He definitely was not the key to that this week.
No, not in the slightest. He's been pretty. Yeah, they've not been doing a huge amount. They've been doing quite a lot of different stuff with him over the past several weeks. A lot of it, which seems to have not been working out hugely well. He did a pretty big change in their fighting style for him, and it seems to be a continuation of that. Which, I'm not convinced. Teen Gohan was absolutely fantastic.
Teen Gohan was fantastic. Oh my god, he literally, I want to go back and actually measure the amount of time. He took Majin Buu from full health to nothing. It had to have been less than 30 seconds.
Probably.
It was.
I think so. I remember that bit.
That was fantastic on his part. Kid Gohan, I don't remember, because it's been a bit since I saw the episode. I don't remember if he really was damn impressive or just looked damn impressive. But if I remember correctly, he did a lot of damage.
Yeah, especially with those melee combos. That was really, really good.
Yeah, and he was a key build.
I truly mean this when I say
it was designed to give him B1 buffs and keep him in max power. I think that's what that was supposed to do. I think the whole point of that build was to do max power combos.
When we went into the playoffs, I really, and I'm pretty sure everyone here is kind of the same opinion. I really thought Super Saiyans were taking North Kai, and it wasn't going to be much of a contest. If the Gohans fight like that again, we could see a really interesting week 2 of the playoffs.
Oh yeah, they could definitely win. Absolutely.
I think they could definitely win. I don't think you can say that though based off last week.
No,
because the Boos were not the Boos that they should have been in order to progress any further.
I very, very strongly still stress. I still think they're big underdogs, but the assumption or the thing I'm going off of is Boos derping or not, that Gohan team is 200% better than anything we've seen this season.
No, indeed.
Oh God, yes.
I completely agree.
So, and plus, I'm hoping. Part of me is just hoping. I want to see. I'm not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't bother me if the Super Saiyans win or lose, but I don't want them to see them dominate. I want to see matches like we had all week this week.
But we still win.
Yeah, whatever. I don't really care.
I don't know. You guys could do test builds.
Yeah.
we're still testing. We don't need real builds.
Yeah, fuck that. We're going into next season. Going to be even stronger.
Yeah. No, you're testing until the actual playoffs or the actual bowl. It's fine. It's fine. You don't. You need it.
It's very, very difficult to get this right. I guess then we'll go on to the next match, which was Iskai's playoffs, which was the Blades versus Namek.
Yeah.
The winner goes on to fight the androids.
Oh, man, I gotta be honest. I did not expect Namek to do as well as they did. And I think I said this during the video. They were. I considered them to be fairly even teams, but I considered the Namekians to be the underdogs. If not by much, but still, I really expected.
Yeah,
I would not have been surprised.
Dynamics to be the underdogs by a reasonable margin.
Yeah,
I would not have been surprised at all if they had gone 2 and out for the Blades. And that is not what we saw happen. Again, I gotta wonder: is a lot of it just work that the Nameks put in their team? And I think part of it is, and we mentioned this during the match too. The build they put on Tambourine was not working out for them, and I really think they need to concentrate on Tambourine for week 2. He did okay, and but he was not the reason why that team won, and he definitely was not fighting like a top 10 player.
Well, it was only the second time, as far as I can tell, that build had been put out in that form.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big mistake. I think it would have been a bigger mistake to put him out on his defensive build. Personally.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have had a hope in hell. I think what they need, rather than the defensive build, I think that build itself is actually quite good, given what Tambourine can do. But I think it pretty much relies on having the AI that's capable of doing those B2s at the right time.
I don't know, though. I kind of liked Tambourine's performance. He was doing okay. He did, 3 or 4 ultimates, if I remember correctly.
He did 1 successful. I don't remember how many he fired off, though. I think at most he fired off 2, and one of them was successful. Now, that's still a lot more ultimates than he usually fires.
Yeah, and he was firing B2s out, from what I remember.
The issue you have with that, though, is firing ultimates out. That's cool, but you're paying 4 bars for something that's doing, maybe 12k damage on Tambourine. It's nowhere near as effective as spamming other moves and melee combos.
Yeah, that's true.
I kind of agree with Rebel. I'm not sure a defensive build is the way to go anymore after people learn to counter it. And it's a perfect reason why you saw him do so well at the beginning of the season and then start to drop off, because the defensive build was getting countered. But there's a lot more ways you can go, and I just... it's hard to say, because I'm not saying he's doing bad. He's just the probably the worst performing one on the team right now, which is kind of odd. Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to see. This is what's so hard about the postseason, is that a lot of teams have a different look to them, and you only get those 2 or 3 matches to go off of. So it's really hard to say. Who knows? Maybe that build on Tambourine's fantastic, and he just had a couple of bad matches. That's always possible. But from what we saw, Tambourine, I'm not even sure what, because I'm not in part. I'm not lurking in your forums, but he should be talked about. There's got to be ways to improve him for week 2, and if you can get him working for week 2 and keep everyone else up at the same level they were this week, it'll be nice to watch.
Yeah.
So was there any sort of standout performance for the Namics then? Who really?
Nail.
Because Nail, was it?
Oh yeah, Nail.
I
Definitely.
think Late Piccolo was probably the standout performance build.
Yeah.
Even with the ultimate. Hellzone grenade, I got this.
Punched out.
Yeah, I think the reason why Nail stood out in my mind more is absolutely right. Late Piccolo did amazing, but you're used to him doing good. Nail did a lot better than we're used to seeing.
Indeed.
Yeah, so, I guess he's stuck in my mind more. I think you might be right that Late Piccolo might have had the better week.
I know, it felt to me like he had the better week because he gave them just such a great lead early on.
Yeah,
he did well against Tapion. He started going at the next, or what I would probably consider to be the next strongest member of that team.
And what was up with Tapion?
I have no idea.
Did not want to fire B2s for the life of him.
I have no idea. And he's on the same...
Yeah, I was about to come on to
the same AI that he's always been. Frieza.
Yeah. Oh well. Poor Blades.
Yeah.
I'm going over their builds. They don't seem... Well, they're not different.
Freezer AI all season.
Sorry, I was just looking at a couple of...
Yeah, he was on TNAI last time he came out. He's on Majin Buu AI the time before that. Majin Buu AI before that.
My bad.
Majin Buu AI before that. Majin Buu's the spammy AI. Then there's Freezer AI before that one. Freezer AI. Freezer AI.
For Tapion? For Tambourine or Tapion?
Tapion.
For Tapion.
Oh. Yeah, that's so weird. I love how AIs work so differently because, in my book, I'm sitting there going, a B2 spammer on Majin Buu. Huh. But on some people, that's what he does.
Majin Buu focuses on barrage attacks, so yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you change an AI, though, for the playoffs.
It depends.
Maybe he had some really good tests. I don't know.
He did use Freezer AI earlier on in the season. I don't know off the top of my head how good Tapion was on Majin Buu AI towards the tail end of the season. Yeah. And since at the beginning of the season he was pretty solid on Freezer AI, that could have been the reason.
Maybe.
You typically do see teams doing drastic changes in the playoffs, but they're usually teams that got into the playoffs by the skin of their teeth and feel that if they don't make drastic changes, they're not going anywhere. And the Blades certainly didn't have that problem. The Blades were a strong team.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly expected them to take week 1. I considered it to be a fight, but yeah, I'm surprised the Namekians moved on.
Underdog story number 1 then.
Yeah.
Actually, wait, who won the last one? No, Gohans were underdogs as well, technically, because Boo were above them in the division.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the
So, underdog
the Blades,
story
the Blades and
number
Namekians didn't have good seasons. Let's not
Right.
gloss over that. The Blades weren't strong this season. They were a little scary towards the beginning of the season, but after the midpoint of the season, they just started losing. They did the same thing the Namekians did to an extent. They ended 6-9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not like they came into that being a particularly strong team. They just had the strong players and what we've had off them previously.
Yeah. I'd also like to point out that Janemba was on a new AI as well.
I think that was pretty necessary. He was abysmal the past several weeks, though.
Yeah.
So I think that was a reasonable change.
Okay. Well, and I guess we move on to the next playoff match, which was ping 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 Westkai's playoffs. Dragon Ball Warriors versus Valkyries, which Valkyries won?
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
right?
they
Yes,
won
to play Muscle.
They won
in the
3 and
quarterfinals.
out. Actually, or it actually went to 3 rounds. One of the matches that went to 3 rounds, and
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that matchup. Not only was it fun, not only was it very entertaining to watch, but just it's so cool when the worst player of your season comes out at a time when you need them most and just kicks ass.
I think what was the most
Oh,
interesting
yeah.
thing about that game, more than anything, was the fact that the Valkyries every single time that they won, came out and from a loss, effectively. Yeah,
Right.
They came out from Fasha getting her ass kicked, which I think is about time.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, I think she's had. I've been absolutely gobsmacked at the fact that teams have been looking at Tambourine and going, right, we can beat that, and then been going at Fasha and going, what the fuck do we do? And all of that thing with Tambourine has just been not working against Fasha, and I think I still don't understand why that hasn't been a thing in the past. I think Nam's the perfect counter. I think Dragon Ball did an incredibly good job with that.
I agree. And plus her ego. Dear God, that woman's ego was going out of control.
Yeah, I bet. I did love the two ape fights, Goku versus Fasha.
Yes!
That was amazing.
brilliant.
You
That
never
was
see
brilliant.
that. We need to do that more.
Yeah, that map actually got used for a decent purpose.
yeah. I know.
Yeah. And when we were setting it up, I was like, because they didn't say if they wanted night map or not. And so some people were saying, don't put it on night map. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's 2 apes there. I'm putting it on night map just in case it happens.
Gratuitous
The thing-
ape battles. Yeah.
The thing I love about that match is that both teams were on fire. Both teams did really, really well. It wasn't like Boos versus Gohans or Namekians versus Blades. That one really, I mean, until the very end was a nail biter, and I loved it. Dragon Ball Warriors, I want to say over the course of this season, they have done amazing things with their team. Even though they didn't move on to the next round, they really became a team from right next to a joke team to a team that was really a team to be feared. No one wanted to go up against the Dragon Ball Warriors. I mean,
No, absolutely, I agree.
yeah.
Well, they were
So-
top. They were top of their division for about 3/4 of the season, weren't they? Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly.
And then
I
the
felt-
Valkyries, God. And it wasn't the people you expected. You expected the Valkyries win. It was going to be Fasha and Aurelie. And Fasha did nothing. And Aurelie, she was what, average?
She was still a Rayleigh.
At best.
Yeah. But definitely,
Yeah, she wasn't great though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely that match was all 18, Say a Woman, and I can't believe I'm saying it, Pan.
I think Pan was good in one of those games.
Exactly. Well,
Only one of them.
yeah, then let me clarify. Yeah, she was really bad in match 1 and 2, but she was good when it absolutely mattered the most, which was the last one when they were really far behind, and Pan not only caught up but put them in the lead.
Yeah.
That was what I was referring to. As far as the whole week goes, if you average it out, she did not have a good week.
Yeah.
No, I think the biggest surprise for me wasn't actually Pan, it was Android 18.
Yeah.
The fact that Android 18 did so well.
Why?
You know, she's been shit all season.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I
Not
ask?
consistent, just bad.
Why do you guys keep like focusing on her ultimate? You, Squee, Piff.
Because she used to love to throw it out when she went into max power mode, and now she almost never does. It's not that it's a better ultimate than anything else. It's a combination of factors. One, it's kind of unusual because seasons 1 through 4, she would go max power, and you could almost count. I mean, I don't want to get too generic or or overstate too much, but it was very common for her to throw out an ultimate, and now you almost never see it. And the bigger problem is that she makes the worst choices. She goes max power, which for an android is a big thing because they can't charge up, and then she'll throw out a Destructo Disc that gets dodged, or the barrage move that does like 6,000 points of damage, instead of her ultimate that does 12, 13, 14,000 points of damage.
Yeah, I think the biggest point about Android 18 and her ultimate, and why I'm always kind of confused as to why she gets put on that kind of build. I mean, don't get me wrong, it paid off this week absolutely, but it always confuses me as to why she's kind of put on a B2 AI and a B2 build, is because the B2s are actually pretty bad. Like, Infinity Bullet is not very good. You know, it'll do, 6, 7k if everything connects. It's one of those that's relatively simple to dodge. Then you're looking at Destructo Disc, which is 2 things that actually need to hit, that travel pretty slowly, and only have a minor seeking ability. So, and even then, when they do connect, it's another, 7, 8k? If that.
Yeah, and they actually get dodged a lot.
And it's just not... Yeah, and it's just not... They're just not very good moves. Whereas her ultimate isn't hugely better than any others, but it's a much more reliable and a much more damaging thing than the rest of them, and the fact that she's an android almost makes it more worthwhile for her to use, just for that connection rate.
I mean, one of the fact it's a rush ultimate as well. The AI tends to know when to do rush ultimates, and then you've got her B2s, which are barrage, and then two kind of beams, I guess they would equate to. That you can dodge one. You can dodge one of them, so it might even do half damage.
I would count both of them as barrages, to be honest.
Well, here's a good question for you, Bern. Yeah, from your point of view, when she does go into max power mode, what would you prefer she does?
Melee.
Yeah, okay. What would you prefer she does that she's actually ever done in the past?
Oh.
Android 18 has now, I'm not saying her melee game is bad, but she's never used max, or I hate saying never and always. She doesn't often use her max power mode to do any sort of extensive melee combos, whereas she did use her ultimate a lot in the past. I mean, at that point, basically, sure. I'm sure everyone would love for their character to go to max power mode and do extensive melee, but she's never shown an inclination to do that.
But by that same token, they have never, from what I've seen, they've never tried a actual melee AI.
Very true.
They haven't tried Trunks. They haven't tried Majin Buu. They haven't tried Goku. They just focus on the whole B2 ultimate, and that's it.
I actually think there's a point worth noting about an awful lot of teams, is that people get, and I've mentioned this before, again, people get very fixated on what they believe their character should be doing and what their character is doing, rather than saying what their character could do. Where could this go? What could be powerful? Because you look at I would personally look at a character like 18 and go, okay, B2's fine, they're a bit below average in terms of connection rate and how much damage they're going to do if they don't connect fully. And you look at the ultimate and go, middling damage ultimate, it's decent, it looks pretty cool, but at the end of the day it's a rush ultimate, so its connection rate is going to be less than a cutscene, than someone who's reasonable at throwing out even a beam move at close range. So the connection rate is just by default, unless she's incredibly lucky or incredibly good at timing it, by default is going to be less good. And so you look at, to my mind, you should be looking at those other options. Now, it clearly paid off during that match, and that's cool, but I'm not sure that's something that the Valkyries should be relying on. That being said, by the same token, I'm not sure that's something that they're going to want to change going into the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah,
Because it
probably
obviously worked there, and whether or not you want to take the risk that you're going to make that sort of a drastic change that, from what I can tell, you haven't even looked into this season, that's going a bit off for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to save for the off season.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless, and the thing is, I really suggest you guys do look at that in the off season, because the simple truth is, she did really well with the build you gave her, but I don't see that build doing really well over the course of an entire season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this goes for every team, not just the Valkyries, is that in the off season you need to be looking at what else you can do with certain characters. Even if your character is a top 10 performing character and is your most reliable character, obviously they get less priority to look at to change. But there are things that you can do with them that will change their playstyle and probably make them quite a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like suiting their character profile a bit more.
Oh, definitely. No character is ever going to be set in one mentality.
Yeah.
It'll do better in some than others, but that might change as time goes by, as we've seen. Always experiment. Experiment.
Do test builds, people. Be like the Super Saiyans.
Spam them.
Spam test build.
If you don't just post one, even if you don't want it. Just do it to annoy the tester. The final playoff match was South Kai's
Wasn't
playoffs.
really important, I think.
It was Ginyu versus the Rugrats.
What?
Sure.
No.
Earth Defenders, sadly at 1-14, couldn't get through.
Ah,
Well, I say
I
sad.
can't believe they even picked up a single win. I mean, their coach is genuine shit.
Jesus.
I see what you mean. Yeah. No, Earth Defenders versus Rugrats, which Earth Defenders won.
Another thing.
Earth Defenders will fight Margins in the quarterfinals next week. What were your opinions on the match? Go.
If I'm going to be very, very honest, I expected the Earth Defenders to beat them, because I think that the Earth Defenders are a stronger team at the moment. I don't think the Rugrats are a weaker team in potential wise, but at where they are at the moment, the Earth Defenders are a stronger team. But damned if the Rugrats did not make a good fight of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun match. It was a really interesting match too. I think that the Rugrats, Cell Jr. was doing well. Trunks, honestly, I think I am almost willing to bet that match was won by the Earth Defenders largely due to sniffing out Trunks being first.
Oh God, yes.
Because Trunks is one of their best fighters, and we were able to counter him with Yamcha, and basically it nullified Trunks every single match.
Mm-hmm. And even if they didn't start with Trunks, then Yamcha would have been either against Cell Jr. or GT Goku, because they're not going to start with Goten or Chi-Chi. They rely way too hard on Savior for those. And Yamcha would have had a much better time against GT Goku, much better time against Cell Jr., and we would have had a way bigger lead. It was really good. And they did a really good job accidentally countering us. Because all of our B2, or not of our B2s, all of our Clash Pataras lined up perfectly. Where they had Dragon Power, we had Dragon Power. Where they had not Dende's, but Power of Rage, we had Power of Rage.
So I assume you built the team for Clash Pataras as well, for the Rugrats.
Rugrats are known for Clash Pataras, so
yeah, exactly.
They are the only team in the entirety of the league where you can just go, oh, anyone know how to counter Rugrats? Clash Pataras. Done.
Was that just all that was said in your forum?
Well, no, actually, it wasn't that simple. I mean, we really debated for a long time, because we know that Rugrats, you instantly think Clash Pataras.
Yeah.
that just jumps to your mind. And we actually stressed for a long time of should we worry about this or not? Because there's two methods you can go. Either you go all out and try and match them in the Clash Patara game, or you just ignore Clash Pataras and try and focus on other strengths. And we really, really went back and forth on which one we should do. So the Rugrats are not an easy team to prepare for. They really are not. Because when you get a team that is so good at something that can be such a match changer, it's not easy to go, okay, do we try and play them at their own game? Or do we try to just ignore them? And what it came down to was, if we can nullify their clashes, are we a better team? And the answer was yes. If you take away clashes, we thought we were better than the Rugrats, so we tried to take away clashes.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out that way. But
We sort of did. Ish.
Let me just take a look at Rugrats builds. I don't know if they did anything new.
Yeah, there is one that jumped out on me, or jumped out at me, which was GT Goku, was on Gohan AI.
So he was. It's interesting. He's usually on default. If I'm checking these correctly.
Yeah, he usually has no.
yeah,
Actually, no.
GT Goku
Oh, no.
just did not do
No.
much.
No, since week 12 he's been on Gohan AI. My bad. Hasn't worked out for him yet.
Give it time. Give it time.
Yeah.
He'll be great.
Let him marinate.
Honest. Did you do any major AI changes for this match, or was it all just basically Pataras?
All Pataras.
Yeah. See, that's wise.
There's no... Tien is like the best AI on mid Goku, full stop. I mean, I don't...
Yes. Yeah, I mean, honestly, our only real problem child at the moment was Chaozu, and the past few weeks had shown him doing extremely well. He didn't do that well during week 1, but I don't think giving him another AI would have improved that.
Yeah. I mean,
So.
the straight up reason why we lost the second game was because of Chaozu. Because he did no damage to Chi-Chi. None whatsoever. And that put us way behind. And unfortunately, mid Goku refused to do his B1 to actually go to max power, so that didn't help either.
He's temperamental.
He is
He's temperamental.
Yeah. He is a Goku
He's
after
always
all.
angry.
He's
angry.
always angry, and he is a Goku. So it...
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other thoughts on that match?
I love mid Goku.
Yeah.
That's Squeeze professional opinion. Burnerator.
I love Yamcha too. I would actually say, I would say mid Goku was the flashiest, but Yamcha was really what won us the matches.
Grinder.
The grinder.
This entire season, ever since week 5 when we put him on Trunks AI and put him on that melee build, he has been our rock. He has been the most consistent player out of every single one of our matches. Krillin sometimes derps, Tien sometimes derps.
And this week was a perfect example. Came out the first match and is just amazing. Comes out the second match.
Yep.
Oh, Krillin.
To be fair, he didn't do that bad for not having any healing Pataras.
Very true.
Yeah. Not bad.
And Tien, we thought this was hilarious, like Tien, because we're sitting there thinking, my God, Tien's soaking up so much damage. He's got to have a tank. Nope. Dende's healing.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Dende's
We're
healing.
still not even sure. Like, I'm guessing he dodged a bunch of stuff, but he was in there a really long time.
Yeah.
That first match.
Yeah. I assumed he was on attack build as well.
No.
Just because of the damage they were doing to him, really. I'm not sure if it was a Patara they had on them or what.
Well, he was going up against Cell Jr., who was on a tank build.
I see.
Cell Jr. had Eternal Life, Defense +2, Attack -1, and Power of Rage. So he had an attack minus, no real actual attack buffs. So yeah, that's why it was lasting a while.
Fair enough. Rebel, have you got anything to add? Any wise
Nope.
wise words? No. Well, I'm not surprised.
Not especially. I'm more than anything curious to see how, not even for the rest of necessarily for the rest of the playoffs, but into next season, as to how how and where both teams are going to go and how they're going to improve. I think the Rugrats may want to look at an attitude change more than anything to their team. And I'm going to be interested to see how the Earth Defenders decide to change things up, if they do at all, and if they don't decide to change things up and stick with things the way they are, whether that'll give them the same start to next season as it did.
I don't know.
Bern, are we changing things up?
If we don't, that would be complacent. So we're changing shit up.
Retarded.
I mean, Majins, we are not changing anything.
We're not changing anything for the Majins. Jesus. Are you insane? This is the playoffs.
Yes, you will face exactly the same thing. There'll be no changes.
That's what I said for next season, not the playoffs.
No, I know. We do have things we want to test for, but obviously we're not going to just say here. Yeah. Actually, I don't think it would really hurt anything if we do. There's a player or two we want to at least test with and work around with. Maybe mess around with original Goku out of his Super Saiyan form. Which, and this is a very good point to make, because the first reaction for a lot of people would be like, he's doing amazing. Why? Why not? Just because your player is amazing doesn't mean that in the off-season you shouldn't experiment with them. That's how you grow. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe we could play with original level Goku and he turns out to make the Super Saiyan Goku look like a chump. Mm-hmm. You just never know.
Spirit bomb. That spirit bomb.
Yeah, that spirit bomb that actually can blow up the world. It's amazing.
And the equivalent of like 2 players.
Yeah, the Defender of Earth that can blow up the world. Wouldn't you all love to see that? Wouldn't you love...
Goku did it in the exhibition matches.
Wouldn't you love the Earth Defenders? To get a supernova, wouldn't you?
Everyone, share your energy with me so that I can blow you the fuck up.
Oh dear, a window into the mind of the Earth Defenders, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a lot of things that I have ideas for. I've done pretty much every AI test that I can think of, save for Mid Goku Super Saiyan, but I don't know if I want to get him off of TNAI just yet. He is super solid. Every single other character on my team, I have tried every single AI. I have a test for those AIs. I have it recorded. It's awesome.
Again, a window into the mind of the Earth Defenders. Ridiculously organized as they are.
Thank you.
Well, the coach. And then you got me on the other side that's just like,
who's on our team again?
Hey, let's put Broly's ring on everyone, because it'll throw them off.
It's very important on Chapsy. Very important.
Oh, hey, we're going up against the Rugrats. Draconic Aura.
Needs to say, Squee stepped down as coach fairly recently.
See, no, window in the mind. Squee didn't step down. They threw him out.
We put him in the corner.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, that was all the matches for week 1.
All the matches. I'll go over them all again in just for routine's sake.
Yeah, I dozed off halfway through. You were boring me.
Wow.
What a
an
prick.
asshole. The first match was North Kai playoffs. Boo versus Gohans. Gohans were victorious. Next week they will be fighting the Super Saiyans, which we should talk about later. That's right, yeah, 2-0. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. The second match was East Kai's playoffs. Blades versus Nameks, which Namek won, also 2-0. They will be fighting the androids in the quarterfinals. West Kai's playoffs involved Dragon Ball Warriors against the Valkyries. A 3-match brawl. We saw the Valkyries push on ahead, and they will be fighting Muscle next week. And finally, in South Kai, Earth Defenders fought Rugrats. Another 3-match brawl, in which Earth Defenders secured their place in the match against Margins in the quarterfinals.
Now, here's a question for you guys. Not that I'm, like, editing this stuff right now or anything, but obviously next week are the quarterfinals. The week after that's the semifinals, and then, of course, the finals. What would this week be called?
Playoffs.
Huh? What?
No, wait.
Playoffs.
Just playoffs week 1?
I've always called it playoffs. I don't really
Playoff round 1.
Okay.
You could always
Or Qualifying
one,
round?
round
Qualifying round works.
qualifying
Qualifying
round,
round?
playoffs round 1,
Ooh.
round of 8.
Because
Qualifying round actually sounds
then-
good because you're qualifying to see who faces the bye week.
qualifying, then quarterfinals, then semifinals, then finals.
I like that.
That was just for curiosity. You weren't doing, editing
Definitely
or
not.
anything.
Definitely
I
not.
absolutely am not editing all of the episodes as we speak.
No, of course
The
not.
incredibly long episodes.
45 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 45 minutes.
With that, we shall move on to the questions from the Zcast viewers. Once again. The first question is by someone called Hazar for Timelines. Have you heard of him? I think he's quite new. I haven't even seen him in the Zcast questions. For
Never,
forever.
ever.
I don't
He's a
I don't think
lurker.
he knows what he's talking about.
He's a lurker.
He says, today at 7:21 p.m, guess I'll give you guys a longer reason to do the Zcast. You can thank/curse me later.
Don't worry, I'll spend an awful lot of time cursing you. It's fine.
We'll sacrifice a lamb. Well, I say we. Rebel will.
I wouldn't waste a lamb. It's good eating.
I forget you're Welsh. The first question. To Rebel, funnily enough. Which team do you believe had the most effective strategy for their team prior to the match, excluding the end result? So I guess that means not dependent on who won, I guess.
Say the question one more time.
To Rebel. Which team do you believe had the most effective strategy for their team prior to the match, excluding the end result?
Oh, I see.
I think that implies that teams had a strategy for their team. I can think of very few teams that had a particularly good idea of how the match was going to turn out beyond the starter. And even then, I think... I don't know. I'm struggling to think. Off my head, who had the best strategy?
This happens a lot.
Hilarious.
Take time, Rebel. It's not a problem.
I don't know. I'm tempted to say Dragon Ball Warriors had the best strategy. I think it's probably a tie between Dragon Ball Warriors and Earth Defenders. For that one, I think there's a certain amount of either overestimation or underestimation by various teams about their own players and other players' capabilities. I think a kind of perfect example there was Valkyrie's putting Fasha up against Nam, for example. I think most people, in my personal opinion, that was only ever going to go one way. I didn't see a single opportunity within the builds or player fighting style for Fasha to get out of that one. I think putting Trunks up front for the Rugrats was probably a mistake. I think the Rugrats pretty much did that to see if they could throw the Earth Defenders off, as that was something that I don't think the Rugrats thought people were expecting. So I'm not entirely certain about what the strategy was regarding the Boos and the Gohans. I'm not even sure if there was one. I think Namex, from what I can vaguely remember, didn't have a huge sort of strategy for the Blades in mind. I think the Blades were pretty much going for, this is what's good, this is how it's worked, this is just going to have to do the job. People, as I said, people have either too much confidence in their own predictive abilities and their own player's ability, and not enough either understanding or respect for their opponent's abilities to predict and their opponent's player's ability to fight. And teams are still making the mistake of relying far too heavily on what they predict will happen, and not making an effort to think, okay, here's what is the most likely response from the opposing team if we do this. And, okay, if that happens, how does that affect what we're going to actually do? So I think player X is most likely to start. Okay, fine, I'm going to put player Y to come out. However, what happens if player Z comes out instead? And that is what I have to deal with. And I think in the case of Yamcha and Nam, that is the perfect starter for those situations, because anybody that comes out against those two from the Rugrats and the Valkyries respectively was most likely going to get their asses kicked. And so I think for the Valkyries it was a tremendous waste putting out Fasha first. And I think the same goes for the Rugrats in that regard. So I think Dragon Ball Warriors and Earth Defenders had the better strategy in mind. For the Earth Defenders it certainly paid off, for Dragon Ball Warriors it didn't. I think for some teams it was a lack of consideration more than anything else. So, yeah.
Fair enough. I don't really have anything to add to that because it's not a question for me. So I guess we move on to question number 2. How many hours do you usually spend on DBZ League? Give us a small peek into your routine without going too far into staff context.
Is this like for everyone or a specific
Everyone.
person?
Everyone.
Oh. Then you guys go first.
Yeah. If you want, I can go first.
Vern, you go first.
Okay. Depending on the day, Rebel might want me to hang out for a couple of hours when I wake up. So we hang out for a couple of hours. It gets to be about noon, around there. Then I spend at least 4 to 5 hours doing DBZ League stuff, specifically the secret project that I've been working on since February, that I'm not ready to share with anybody yet.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's going by slow. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Anyways, then around...
If you make more of this,
Then around 2 to 3, Pith usually wants to have me hang out with him, or Ray. So I spend a few hours with them, then I jump back onto the secret project while monitoring the threads and everything. And I usually work on that until about 11 midnight, my time. Then Rebel wakes up, we hang out a couple times, or for a couple of hours, and then I go to sleep. So I'm thinking about 10 to 12 hours a day. I do DBZ League stuff.
Not bad, not bad, not bad. Could do more.
could make more of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
it. Not going to pull any punches here. Rebel, do you want to go next, or...?
Sure. It depends. It kind of depends how active the forums are and whether or not I have matches to work to. I personally wouldn't put a time on it. It depends when I wake up. It depends whether I wake up in the middle of the night. It depends what time I go to bed. It depends what I'm doing. If I'm working, then that is slashed by, like, I don't know, if I work for 9 hours, it's probably slashed by about 8 hours, maybe 8.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, it's slashed pretty substantially. But for the most part, if I wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm vaguely conscious, I'll probably check the forums, see if anything's going on. I will do the same as part of checking everything when I get up in the morning. If I get any point of a break at work and I have any kind of connection to anything, then I'll probably go and have a look. But apart from that, it's basically all day. If I'm at my computer, there is probably something to do with Dragon Ball Z League up in a tab somewhere. Or on my phone, or on the tablet somewhere. It'll be there somewhere. I'll either be looking at stats, I'll either be talking to people about it, there'll be a conversation or two up about it somewhere. I might be browsing the sub-forums, I might be looking at final customization, there might be something going on in staff. Any number of things could happen, so I'm not going to put a time on it, but it's an all-day, pretty much constant thing.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to remember. I'll probably forget something, but so I wake up. Well, what I usually do, I don't really. I'll go to the portal of the forums, to see the most recent threads, and then I'll go do something, come back. I'll pretty much press refresh on the portal page about 200 times a day because I have no life. But other than that, I might be working on.
Nobody disagreed with you.
Wow. Artwork for the League. Might be doing the Zcast. There might be something in the staff forum. Might be obviously the Super Saiyans. There's the channel, the DBZ League channel. There's like the emails and the Google Plus page, Twitter page, all that. I think that's all I can think of at the moment. So that's probably pretty much it. About 5 or 6 hours I put in. I'm not quite as dedicated as these two over here, or 3, I guess. But whatever.
No, I don't think Squee's dedicated. He isn't paid that. He's like,
Yeah, I'm not. I'm really not. Well, if we just go ahead and get out of the way, the setting it up Dragon Ball Z League, which is maybe let's say 2 hours to set it up each week. And I'm not talking about just when I start streaming and all that, but just the setup. About 2 hours to set up. About 3 to 4 hours per week, usually, to do post-edit. Sometimes up to 6, sometimes less, just depends. And that's not render time, that's actually working on it. So there's that. Usually, this is how it works. Saturday, I make sure builds are, like, Durangel has builds are done, make sure he has what he needs, make sure everyone's posted or not posted their builds and whatnot. Sunday, I usually start setting up about an hour before we start streaming. And then we start streaming, that's like, 2 to 3 hours. Monday is usually dedicated to working editing, editing the League. Monday, sometimes Tuesday. And then after that, it's kind of like the same as Burner and Rebel. I do not monitor the forums anywhere near as much as Rebel does, and I am so thankful he is there to do it because I just don't have the time. But I am in those forums every single day. I would say that I would spend maybe half an hour at least in those forums. But as Byrne will tell you, I spend that much time in the forums and I'm still hardly ever on my team page because I'm always either answering PMs, working with the staff, working with... there's a lot of things... I keep it rather quiet, and I'm going to keep it very, very general. There are a lot of problems people have with the League that they bring to me through PMs that you will never, ever hear about, but it is much more than you would think. There are a lot of people who... let's not say unreasonably, but I get a lot of requests to change things, a lot of requests to redo something, a lot of stuff that I have to spend time explaining and working with that is understandable when you run a league like this and something that's this is so competitive like this. But I would say that half my time to the league is dedicated to working on PMs and telling people why rules are the way they are. Mm-hmm. It's good times.
And you have no idea how much time I spend trying to get Squee to actually look into Workshop. I mean, you have no... Hey, Squee! Respond to this! God dang it!
Hey, Squee, look at Staff Forum. People aren't actually talking. It's been left for a week. What do we do?
Yeah, we're waiting for a decision, Squee.
For God's sake, we need some input here.
No, are we serious? Really? I know Burn, but I'm going to the staff forum right now. I thought I checked it the other day.
Now I've made you paranoid. Awesome.
Oh dear.
No,
They're just
okay.
joking.
You guys are a bunch of liars.
I didn't say shit. I just started laughing.
Okay. This will tell you guys though. This will tell you it's not like this hasn't happened before. Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone running. There have been times where people are like, I love this one. I'll put something up in the staff forum like, hey guys, we should discuss this. And then like a week later, they're like, so you ever coming back? Oh,
hey,
right.
Hey, Squee, are you dead?
There's like 10 pages ahead and there's like 100 responses and people started crying. There are tantrums and people threatened.
I will put it this way. A very easy way to put it is that, this LPing and the internet stuff, this is my full-time job. And I do spend at least 40 hours a week on this job like a normal job. And I would say half that time is dedicated to something having to do with the league. Whether it be streaming it, setting up, editing, dealing with the forums, etc., etc. At least half of my job is part of Dragon Ball Z League.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so I guess we move on to question 3. With teams starting to counter a lot more this season, what progression in the art of build making do you hope to see in the next coming seasons?
Not sure.
I'd like to see teams actually countering properly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
nice.
I was gonna say let's be nice about it.
Let's not beat around the bush here. People will talk about, okay, here's what they're likely to do, and then kind of maybe change their lineup a little bit. Maybe. That's about it. Really. You know, you look at someone like some people might look at, Team Muscle and say, okay, well, we'll put Draconic Aura on them. Okay. It's probably a waste, but, okay. Because if say you've got Draconic Aura on your 2 starters, and Broly, Roshi, 13, bit of Bojack, they're not out until later. Then you got to face Garlic Jr., and, you've got their 2 characters that are using Draconic Aura. It's like using it against Earth Defenders. It's a complete fucking waste.
Let's concentrate on the positives. They're countering, and they're learning. So, hopefully they will get better in time.
There's progress has been made from last season. It's not as vast and as I was hoping or expecting it to be. And I think that's more down to, I don't know if it's a lack of consideration or a lack of respect or a lack of understanding as to how other teams think and the way other teams go about things, and maybe other teams' players. I'm not sure, because a lot of the countering seems to be along the fact of, okay, here's what they usually do, here's what I expect them to do, here's what we're gonna do, and that's usually as far as it goes. Whereas more often than not, that's quite likely to get you trapped by someone who's thinking just a little further. So, here's what we usually do, so here's what we're gonna do. And, here's what we usually do, here's what I would do to counter that in their position, so here's what we're gonna do instead. And if they just play standard, then it still probably works. So, I would be interested to see that kind of thing more than anything.
I would definitely be interested in seeing, because right now, like Rebel said, countering is in a basic form. People counter other teams in the most basic sense of, what do we think they're going to do? Okay, let's do something to counter it. I would love to see teams get really in-depth in it. Not, what do they think we're going to do? It should be, like, almost different categories. What's their lineup going to be? What builds are they going to have? What do you think their overall strategy is going to be? What do you think they think your weaknesses are? And you need to consider all this stuff when countering a team, which most teams don't do. They do it in the most basic sense. Like I said, it's good because they're starting to do it. I just hope that next season it's much more evolved. And I can tell every single team an amazing way to do that. If someone posts a build, never, ever, ever just say, and I'm guilty of this too, but I'm just saying, never, ever, ever just say, I like it. It's good. Always find something. Ask a question about something. Even if you have an answer for it. Now, I'm not just saying, like, something that doesn't make sense. Like, well, why don't we have Broly's ring on? But, like, look at the build. No build's perfect. You can look at the build and say, I don't understand what this is for. Explain it more to me. Or do you think this would be better? Or what about this? There's always something you can ask to generate dialogue. And if the more dialogue you generate, the more you talk about it, the better the counter will be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I said something along those lines last week, which was, if you're not thinking about why a build is there, you're doing it wrong. If that's not, if you're just putting a build on because you think it'll do well, and that's as far as you're going with it, that is when you start to be countered. And you start to be countered hard. Because you don't understand, you're not putting enough thought into what's going into that build and why you expect it to work. To be able to look at it and say, okay, that bit worked, but that bit didn't. This was necessary, this wasn't. And that goes for people posting ideas as well. And this is something that needs to be done far, far more often, not just responding to what other people are saying, and saying, okay, or what other people have posted builds-wise, and saying, okay, well, why this, why that, but also posting your own stuff and saying, okay, if we're looking to do this, then we can do this, here's the reasoning behind this Batara, here's the reasoning behind this AI, here's what we're looking to do with this, that, or the other. And that kind of actual in-depth thought is just, for the most part, not there.
Ta-da!
I don't know. I can't see other people's forums, so I'm not sure. I don't really have much to add to that.
You lucky bastard.
You will soon, though.
But
You
like
will
I said,
soon.
the teams are moving in the right direction. I will not be surprised at all if we see a huge shift in the balance of power next season. And not because, from season 2 to season 3, there was a huge shift in power because from going from 5 points to 7 points. This season, there was a huge shift in power because I think teams finally really understood how to build their team. And I think next season, you might see a huge shift in power because now that they understand how to build their team, they're going to really start concentrating on how to counter other teams. So I will not be surprised at all if we get into next season and we're like, dude, these teams were great and now they're sucking, and these teams sucked and now they're great.
Yeah. I also...
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think the teams this season that have said, okay, that have actually figured out how to build their teams and actually know what they're doing with their players, I think they're going to have more success next season. Because I think there is still quite a number of teams that are still figuring out what to actually do with their players. And trying to understand and learn. And if they're not, then they need to be.
Bern, did you have something to say?
And I think in that sense, results kind of speaks.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bern was talking.
I'm just going to keep on overriding.
I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see a lot more teams trying to counter. I also wouldn't be surprised if we see no teams or certain teams not trying to counter and just falling prey to that.
I don't think it'll be. Yeah, it won't be universal.
Teams that don't listen to the Zcast.
Yeah.
That's right. Ching.
Not even don't listen to it, don't pay attention.
Not naming any names. But this team and this team and this team and...
I will say this. I'm excited for Season 6. I think it's going to be a really fun season.
It's going to be a blast.
It will, because I'll be an admin, and all of you guys are going to get... Well, not you guys, I'm talking about the other teams.
You're making a lot of assumptions there, actually.
Oh, wow. One assumption.
A lot
The whole admin
of
thing was a
assumption.
massive assumption. I know what the problem is there.
Damn it. Okay.
Oh, by the way, Bern, here's your ad. No.
Wow. That hurt. The next question is by Vindicated57, asked 40 minutes ago. The first one is, what was the most exciting / shocking match of the playoffs? I'll go first. I think it was actually, for me, it was Gohans versus Booze. I actually expected Booze to win that.
I think for me it was Valkyrie's Dragonball Warriors.
Same here. Valkyrie's Dragon Ball Warriors for several reasons. One, Pan in the last match shocked the hell out of me. But more overall, the Vals won in a way I never ever saw coming. I like I said, I never expected them to win because of Sayer Woman and 18.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. That was a really, really close match.
Yes, it was.
Fair enough. The next question. Who do you predict will move on? I assume he means to the semi-finals.
Yeah.
We'll probably do that next, Vindicated. That'll be the predictions. So don't worry. Your question will be answered in another way. But that is it.
I don't think that's a relevant question. I'm not going to lie.
Brilliant.
Who moves on? That's not relevant.
Right, we're going to ignore
That
that
is
question and move on to the predictions for...
We're going to postpone that question and answer it in a minute. But next go to the Fantasy League and betting. I've not actually been part of this for the playoffs, so I don't really know much about it. Bern, have you done any?
Yeah, I did.
So there's something different for the playoffs, isn't there?
Yeah, for the
both.
Fantasy League, I haven't really kept up with that part. I'm gonna double check this,
Right.
but for the betting, it was kind of a model that was copied from Naruto League, where you have different types of bets, and you start out with 20,000 zeni, and you can make a standard bet, which is if you make it, you get double your money and all of that.
I'm pretty sure that was a format, and as well as the special bets that we did in Dragonball Z League.
Maybe, but
No. I think we did it, but I think we dropped it last season.
yeah,
We didn't put
No,
much
we didn't
effort
drop
into
that.
it.
I just stopped being bothered enough to
Yeah.
maintain.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time, and that was the
yeah.
difference.
I wasn't really paying attention to the betting, so I can't say.
Damn it, bud. Damn it, bud.
It's that's actually the one aspect of the league I don't have a huge hand in. Is it still very popular? There's still lots of people that do the betting in the fantasy leagues and
I
stuff.
think for the playoffs
The
they are.
fantasy leagues, yes. Fantasy league, yes. Betting though, I'm not sure.
I would have thought the betting would
Passed it
be
over
more
to
popular than
Scotty,
the
I
fantasy
think it's
league.
reasonable.
Fantasy League is
Interesting.
pretty cool.
Yeah. The betting is doing well. A lot of people like betting. It's only been going
Gamblers.
on for the playoffs though.
You
Yeah,
can't.
I lost almost everything.
Shame on you.
Thank fuck I put a lot on ED.
I don't think HJK Rebel and I have bet ever since we had the whole Zcast betting thing.
Oh yeah.
I think we
I
all
don't think we
learned
even
our
paid
lesson on
attention
that.
to that after a while. To be honest.
No, I did because I won. You two, however, seem to just ignore it, which is weird.
Well, hey, I
Yeah, I
broke
can't
even.
imagine
I mean,
why.
I was in the plus, unlike someone we know.
Another
Yeah,
reason why he
HJK,
doesn't
God,
care
what the
about
fuck?
it. Hang on, let's just check. So fantasy league betting. I would go over the rankings for the
If
fantasy
we'd have
league.
done it this
There-
season, I'd have been fucking.
The
amazed.
playoff fantasy league stuff is being set up differently. What you had to do was you had to put out a team of 6. One person can be from your team, and then the rest of them is from any of the other teams that are still in the playoffs. And then you input it, and that's your entire team for the rest of the playoffs. And it isn't counted until the end of the playoffs.
So you take the
So
risk
if you-
that...
so
Yeah.
yeah, you've
yeah.
been eliminated
Yeah.
week 1.
So I'm kind of sad because my team is Mid Goku, Nam, and Vegeta, Super Vegeta, Android 17 Cell. So Nam's not going to be helping me out as much as I hoped.
I like your faith in the Super Saiyans, though.
And then the androids.
Hey,
as well,
hey,
geez.
much pressure.
Vegeta's are cray cray. I'm just saying they're pretty crazy.
All right, not bad.
Oh yes, we are.
Oh god. Here we
Oh
go.
jeez.
5th member of the Seekers. Can you imagine doing that
Peter,
voice?
Shut the fuck up. Return to bed.
Yeah.
Not interested.
Do that voice for an hour and a half. Then
Vegeta, go clean the litter box like I told you to.
Oh god. So now we will finish off Vindicator's question and go over the predictions for next week. The first match will be in North Guys quarterfinals. Super Saiyans versus Gohans.
Yeah.
Super
I think
Saiyans?
Gohans are going to put something stellar out. Like, better than they performed last week to actually do well against a
Yeah.
full Super Saiyan team.
Full Super Saiyan.
I agree.
Full Super Saiyan team, which we haven't seen the full power of since week 10.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm predicting Super Saiyans, but I think that there's a high chance it could go to 3 rounds at least, which would
Yeah.
be really fun.
That's true. Predict how many rounds as well. How many rounds? 2. Okay.
I say Super Saiyans 3.
3. Because you can't deny Teen Gohan could probably pull back any kind of lead that they have.
Oh yeah, that son of a bitch is going to stab us in the back, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
That pizza.
You guys have done amazing stuff with and Goku. Not early Goku, jeez. But I don't know. If they put out that kind of showing again, I don't know. But then again,
I think you'll win, but I think you might.
I think the Gohans would need to put out a performance where Ultimate Gohan performs as well as the rest of that team did
Yes.
last week, and I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not convinced that those performances that we saw last week are going to be consistent. And I think that overall the Super Saiyans are by far the stronger team.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3 as well, Super Saiyans, but it is close.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen my team at full strength since week 10. So I don't
Like
actually remember
you go into the
everything.
forum and you're like, okay, crap, what did we do?
Shit, it's been so long. I forgot how to build my team. Holy crap.
Pretty much, yeah.
Himmel? Himmel, can you help me?
He hasn't been on the forums for ages. What the hell, Himmel, this is a Zcast request. Get the fuck back in the forum. I miss you.
I miss you, buddy.
Okay. So the next one. East Kai quarterfinals. Androids versus Namek.
Androids 3.
Androids. Ooh. I'm gonna say Androids 2.
2.
Yeah, I might say. Yeah, I'm gonna say Androids 3.
I'm gonna say Androids 2 because I think Nameks are nice, but the Androids are gonna have both their health regen characters and 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2.
I think just looking at everything on paper, you look at it and go, well, 8 is a weak link on that team.
No,
but
he's
I
not.
really don't think he is.
He's a really he manhandled Mid Goku when it was our match against them.
Yeah.
It was only by sheer luck that he was able to get a B1 off and use an ultimate and kill him, then promptly die.
That sounds like Goku.
Yeah, that's Goku to a T. Ader is a really strong character because he can stay in your face. And let me check something. Is he on a melee AI? No? I mean,
What, Aeta?
Yeah.
I don't know,
It better
actually.
be.
Ader, Boo AI. See?
Yeah.
He keeps the
Yes,
pressure up, and he still does B2s. That's the point I'm trying to make. Take a look.
There we go.
Yeah. I really think Androids 2. Because and kind of for the same reasons that Rebel was saying, for Nameks to take this to 3 or to actually win it, they're gonna have to pull out a performance like they did last week, and Tambourine's gonna have to do better, and King Piccolo's gonna have to do better, because I think Androids are a stronger team than the Blades.
The Blades last week or this week really dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Or certainly a handful of their players did, and the Nameks were Nameks were one decent performance away from losing that completely. At least as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
The next round of quarterfinals is a West Kai. Muscle versus Valkyries.
I say Valkyries.
I think Valkyries take it by 3.
Yeah, same here. Valkyries by 3. You know why? Because they're gonna get Fasha back.
Yeah.
Nom's gonna let her go.
I don't think Muscle has figured out a decent count. I don't think Muscle knows their team well enough to be able to bring out a decent and reliable counter to Fasha. I think they're too similar.
I don't know. I think Muscle have been underdogs most of the season, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm willing to count them out yet. But I can't see a character that can.
Sorry, Valkyries by 3. Right?
Yeah, it is the first team. It is the first match Rebel said by 3, so that's actually a huge compliment. You're gonna lose, but you're gonna make a much better show of it.
I might agree then. Yeah, I'll say Valkyries 3 as well.
I don't know.
That's not good enough.
I know that's not good enough. I'm thinking. Give me a chance to think, goddammit.
It does take him quite a long time. He needs his brain to warm up and
Jesus.
everything. It's slow.
What a prick.
It's running off old technology.
I'm gonna have to go the opposite way and go Muscle 3.
Interesting.
Because it all comes down to how their other characters perform. Their starter's gonna die. Straight up to Fasha. I'm sorry, they're gonna die. Unless they put out one character,
I
maybe?
think the only counter to Fasha would be Broly and him with the performance of the left hand.
Basically.
The issue you have is that whoever comes out against Fasha needs to take Fasha low enough that she dies to a B2.
Yeah. Or an ultimate.
Because otherwise, she is either going to tag out or carry on. If she carries on, you have lost.
Yeah.
Because you can't... Here's the thing. Neither of those teams are reliable enough that you can look at those players. Muscle does not have a solid, straight-up starter.
No, they don't.
Yeah. They don't have a Fasha. They don't have a Nam. They don't have Earth Defender's selection of either, at the very least, Yamcha or Chaozu.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue you could probably put Tien in that position as well, and he'd probably do fine. They don't have that kind of solid starter that can do whatever and deal with whatever. Marjube on the margins is a perfect example of that. I don't think that Muscle has that. And I think that is going to be their biggest downfall. I mean, you put Garlic Jr. up against Fasha, I don't see Garlic Jr. winning that. You put Broly up against Fasha, I see that being a close fight, but Broly would need to be insane for him to actually win that.
Yeah, Bojack's strength is all in his savior, so... Yeah.
Yeah, he's just way too reliant on that. And even then, you're looking at the full 5-man Muscle team. Which means you've got Android 13, who's been their worst player this season. You're looking at Bojack, who's been their second worst player this season. And you're then looking at Garlic Jr., who's reasonably okay, but weak. Broly, who's decent. And Roshi, who's decent. You're then looking at Fasha, who's doing very, very well right now. Saiyawoman,
you could say she's
dangerous.
Almost ranked number 1 in the league.
You could almost say that, yes. You're then looking at Android 18, who, as we saw this week, was fantastic, still has that in her. You're looking at Pan, again, bits of last week, she was pretty good. And then, as well as Aurelie. Even if you look at Aurelie and Fasha on the same level, or on the levels that you would expect them to be, all you need is one good performance from Saiyawoman and a couple of decent 30k performances from 18 and Pan, which they're both perfectly capable of. And that's Valkyrie's in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm still siding for Muscle because they can just outright steal a win if things go right. If they transform to their bigger states, they can. Yeah, they can just. Oops! I won. Woo!
Damn them. They learned from us in season 3.
It's hard. It's hard to call, in my opinion, against these two because Valkyries are more powerful than they were before when they faced Earth Defenders, but Muscle can still come back from the brink and just go.
Just suddenly appear first in the division.
Yeah.
That should be the sound. Squeak, can you put that as a sound effect whenever Muscle wins?
Yeah, we're looking for modders.
Okay, then. So I guess the final match, South Kai quarterfinals, Margins versus
Margins.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Margins versus Earth's Defenders.
I don't know if it's because of my position where I'm looking at things, but this is actually the hardest match for me to call by far.
Margins by 3.
Wow! Wow! No faith.
What are you talking about? He said by 3. That's faith for Rebel.
I actually had to think about that for like 2 seconds. I don't know what your problem is.
I'm going to say Earth Defenders by 3. And not just because they're my team. I really do think Earth Defenders we beat them once. I think we can beat them again.
Yeah. We trounced them during the season.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to say Earth Defenders 2 then. Though that is quite optimistic.
I'm going to say Earth Defenders 2.
Earth Defenders 2 or Earth Defenders
go
2?
either way, but I still think Margins 2.
It's not like the Margins aren't powerful, it's just we have a more solid team in my opinion.
It's just Earth Defenders. It's just Earth Defenders.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's what it is. To me, I think the Majins have more powerful characters, but Earth Defenders have a more stable team. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It should be interesting. All these matches.
It really comes down to how Chaozu does in every match because he is our weakest link. As long as he doesn't shit the bed.
Krillin's your weakest link.
Yeah, I guess. Stats-wise, he is. But Chaozu is a lot more inconsistent. From what I've seen.
Well, you're wrong.
That's all there is to it. You're wrong.
You face me.
Conversation done.
Oh, dear.
I didn't say anything. I'm not putting up all this disagree.
Rebel never bullies Burn. Ever. Never. Never.
No, never.
No. That is all the matches for the quarterfinals. We shall look forward to seeing them next week, and you shall be seeing us next week for next week's Zcast. But that is it from us for now. Sorry, what was that, Rebel? Nothing.
I didn't say anything.
Alright, good. I shall say goodbye then. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
See ya.